Jesse, I am going to watch your video in real time and give you some feedback. I wish that I had been able to do this a little bit sooner, but I had an issue with recording system audio, which was going to make this really hard to do. So I think I've fixed it, and we're going to give it a try.
I'm going to be looking at the bottom of the page, starting in measure 30. And measure 30 is on that page where it says, but sometimes it goes up into the next page. Ending suffering and hopeless despair, okay? We're going to be writing in our solfege for measures 30 through 46. So that's a good chunk. Who is going to be singing the top part? And then you can sing the bottom part. Okay. And so if you'll just write in this solfege, you just need to write it in for your part. You're going to be starting in measure 30, but sometimes on page 5, and then going all the way through the measure 46 to page 7.
Something that I think you could do here to help the students and also for you is if you put something on the board that talks a little bit about the tasks that they're going to do that day, and also, you know, if you have some visual learners, some kids who, you know, keep asking you the question, where, what, which ones were we supposed to do, which, you know, middle schoolers do all the time. Which measures, when are we supposed to stop, where do we start?
And I'm going to play that for you some so you can hear it. How are we doing? Good. Okay, we're going to start. Blake, can you start us off with measure 30, so starting at but and go all the way through where it says despair on your part?
Just the syllables.
Yes, that'd be great.
Do, re, mi, so, fi, re, do, so, mi.
Yes, good. So you have fi. So when you sing that, you're just going to be moving a half step down from slow, right? So mi, so, fi, re. Okay?
So the thing here you did, I like that you asked Blake to just, here's what I want you to give, and you didn't wait for people to raise their hands. You just called on somebody, which was good. And I mean, we have a small class, so it's not like there are that many choices, but this is a good strategy to get into, is just call on people at random. That's great. And then in this spot, maybe asking them about fee. Rather like, so how's fi different than fa, or, you know, what's it close to, have them describe.
Or if that when we get to Elaine, would you be ready to start us off from 30 Yes, very good. Dr. Soya, can you start us at 34 at My Heart Cries Out for Shelter and go all the way to Know Someone's There?
Mi so so la fa mi re so mi.
Great. All right. And Blake, would you be willing to do measure 34, My Heart Cries all the way to There?
Sure. Mi, re, di.
Yes.
La, mi, fa, re, do, ti, re, do.
All right, good. And what was that special solfege level you had?
D on E.
Yes, on E natural, right? So it's going to be mi, re, D, and then jumping down. Okay, good. All right. Any volunteers for the voice rises all the way through My Child on top of the next page for the top part? Go for it, you want.
Do da ti do.
Uh-huh.
La sol.
Yes.
Sol fi. Re re. Do ti ti. Sol mi.
Great job. All right, and for the bottom part from 38 through 41.
Let's see. Do, re, mi.
Uh-huh.
Mi, so, fi.
Good.
Re, re, so, mi.
Yes, excellent. You're being put on the spot for all those bottom parts. Holding the line. Okay, going from measure 42 through 46, any volunteers for the top part?
Mi so la fa so la so.
Yes, excellent. All good? Okay, and anybody who would like to finish that, the bottom part is welcome to.
Mi re di la re fa no mi fa re la re do ti.
Yes, good catch. All right, does everybody have that written in or have you're ready to go? Yes? Good? Awesome. Okay, so let's look at this and see what measures are you singing different notes on. I'm going to start us off in measure 31. We're singing different notes all 4 beats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about measure 32?
We have the same.
Yes, good.
So the something about the phrasing there would just be where do you have different pitches than the opposite part? So, where's your part different from part 1 if you're singing part 2? Because kids might get a little mixed up on what you were asking for there, but we got it once you demonstrated, which was great. That was exactly what we needed. You might still have to, no matter how you ask for it, you're probably going to have to give an example of what you mean because middle schoolers.
Measure 33.
Some are the same.
Right? At the very end, we have the same pitch, right?
No.
Okay, so we're kind of going back and forth between whether we have harmonies or not. And then we get down to measure 35. What's happening in measure 35?
We start together, and then part 1 goes up, and then we split off again.
Yes. So we have different harmonies. What else is different between the parts in that measure?
We have different rhythms.
Yes, very good, right? Okay, so let's see if we can tackle some of those different rhythms first. The low.
So the thing here, we did the solfege, and now we're talking about where the parts are different, and I totally get the want to make sure that the rhythms are correct when we do them, but it's a really long section. It might be good because they've had so much downtime of writing things in and, going through and speaking them, where this might have been a good time to sing. Rather than sing at least part of it and say, okay, all that solfege work that we did, now let's apply it. Because when we do eventually go back to singing, it's been a long time since we've done the solfege.
Lower part, if you'll snap your rhythms. The top part, if you'll clap your rhythms. And let's start at measure 34. where it says my, so we're going to be starting on beat 4 and go through there in 38. Okay, and let's all, I'm going to clap this steady beat for you. Let's all start just by clapping the top part, okay, and make sure that we can all do that rhythm. All right? So I'll count you off with 4 and then another 3, and you'll be coming in on beat 4. Is that clear for everybody? Good? All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Yes, how do we feel? Good? Okay. All right, let's do the bottom part. It looks a little bit easier. I'm going to count you off, and you can come in on beat 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. How do we feel about that one? Okay. Let's try that one more time. I'm going to count 4 beats, and then you can clap or snap for me on that part. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Good. Okay. So the one rhythm that you have similar, right? That's not a quarter note. It's not as straightforward as a quarter note. We have a dotted quarter note, right? In measure 36. And that sounded good. It sounded clean. I told you I'd give you 4 beats and then you could come in. But you were supposed to come in on beat 4 and you did it correctly. So great job on that. All right.
That was very specific
Can
praise. That was
anybody point out
great.
some other measures to me where we have different rhythms? Other than measure 35.
38, kind of.
Right? Yes. So the part 2 is going to be moving on beats 1 and 2, whereas part 1 is just going to be moving on beat 1. Good. And there's one more measure I can find.
$43.
Yes. Does everybody see that in 43?
It's like the same as in 38, rhythm-wise.
Yes, exactly. Let's talk about that in 38. Let's talk about the text on this. So this is a heavy text, right? This is talking about.
Again, you're transitioning into another thing. You wanted to get to all of this stuff. And with us, we're patient, we're college students. I think you might have ended up, there just needed to be more singing and a little bit more active doing for them and a little bit more application for an actual middle school class, I think. Because this is a lot. It's a lot to do. You have your solfege, you have rhythms. We did a little bit more performance with the rhythms than we did with the solfege. And now we're getting into text. And I think it's just a matter of giving them the opportunity to apply each of the separate things with their singing is going to keep them a little bit more engaged in what you're doing and keep the energy up in the classroom.
Feeling like you're living in suffering and maybe you're a little hopeless, right? And you're looking for a bit of peace, a bit of shelter and some strength, right? But in 38, this is what we have on my part. We have we expect, right? It's D, but it's E natural, right? What is the effect maybe of having one voice move on that part? Or how does it sound to you? How does it make you feel?
I'm so glad you're asking this question. I think it's just a matter of them singing through it.
It doesn't have to be your.
I think this is just something that would come later in different lessons. You're not wrong for talking about it, and I think it's a good thing to talk about.
Kind of gentle sounding.
I think it's just something they need to talk about later, after they've sung it, after they know it.
Ooh, that's good. Let's explore that some. Yeah, how? Why?
Something moves, and it makes it sound more sad when we move down.
Yes, right. So maybe it's the movement being descending, right? Like almost when you are crying, right? You're in a lower place emotionally a lot of times. Good. That's a good thought right there. Let's look
I
at
like the
another
praise
place.
there. That's a good thought right
okay,
there.
measure 32,
Nice.
and see if we can make something of that text there. So we're saying, but sometimes in this suffering and hopeless despair. And we start out, we're singing harmonies, and then we switch to unison, right? And then we switch back. Any thoughts on that? It could just be that that's what the composer wanted, right? Yeah? What
Well,
word
we're
do
definitely
we kinda
giving you what middle
transition into where
schoolers would
everybody's
give you.
sharing
They'd be
the
like,
same
what does she want? I
Suffering
don't
and despair.
know.
Yes.
Or you have a try-hard who's like, yes, I will give you all the
Right, that's
answers.
good, that's good. So those words will hopefully be clear, right? What's the effect though of those are two dark, like troubled, sad thoughts, and having everybody sing the same thing, right? It's almost like we're all going through the same thing, all doing the same thing right there. Yeah? So maybe a little bit of like emotion spelled out in that in writing that as students in party. Alright. So let's start out, and those of you singing part 1 can follow along. Let's pick a neutral syllable to sing that on. Elaine, what would you like to sing that?
So you spend all this time doing solfege, but then you have them do it on a neutral syllable. And it's like, have them do it on the solfege. If it was important for them to, use the solfege to help them, get the idea of the pitches and the relationships between the pitch, have them sing the solfege.
Ooh. All right, great. So I'll play it for you first, and we're going to start out, we're just going to go from 30 to 34. So if you listen to it, it's going to be 1, 2, 3.
And we're here, let us give it a try and see what happens, because we did all that solfege work, and the purpose of us doing the solfege is to help us
All right, let's tackle
suss
that.
out the
I'll give you
relationships
3 beats.
between the
This
intervals of the
turn,
pitches.
You're going to be going
Even though you
only
gotta,
from do to what solfege syllable?
do to T is tough,
Yeah,
so
that's
yeah,
a
go ahead
big
and play
leap,
that.
right?
Play that
So we
sucker,
want to make sure we
because
don't
that's a tough
overdo
job.
that. Okay? Let's start that. I know it's early, but we're going to give it a shot. I'll give you 3 beats.
So that's the one thing that I would have changed a little bit is to 1, do this a little bit sooner, and then 2, to let us, not necessarily play it beforehand for us. The do to T, give that a try, but have us sing it on solfege and see what we can do with it, because solfege is the tool for us to help understand the intervals and the relationships between the pitches. So let us do it, and do it badly a little bit, and then help us out, you know what I mean? Get us working through it, because that's the purpose of it. But the thing that I really did like is that you did da da da. You gave us the count in on the pitch that we were going to sing first. I really like that. I think that's very helpful for students. I really like that strategy.
38.
It sounded
the first
clean.
4 measures, so
That's good feedback. You got all the notes correct, or that was really precise. That sounded really clean. Cool.
Okay, here's 3 beats.
So we
three
can
beats.
say we
and
did it.
Part one, remember to anticipate that first lead. There's 3 beats. 1, 2, 3. And you still nailed it on grade. Great job.
Yeah, really good specific feedback there. We're gonna cancel that. But yeah, there were a lot of really good things that were happening here. I think it was just a lot, and the sequencing is just something that I would flip up a little bit and say, all right, the section that you just did, go ahead and do that section after they go through giving you the solfege. And then let them suss it out and let them, figure it. Obviously the do to T jump, it's fine, support them for that. That's a tough jump for middle school on their own, but there's a lot of stuff in there that they can figure on their own. And then asking them about, phi and D and those things could actually be the focus of the work that you do that day. And then, you move on to something else depending on how long you want to spend on that or how many other pieces you have to work on that day. So I like what you did, and I like the ways that you did it. I think just the order that you did it in and the amount of time spent is just something that I would do a little bit differently. So everything that you did there was good, but there was a reason why I was like, I just want to kind of let you do what you plan to do, and then see how that feels. Because with actual middle schoolers, you might just end up with just a little bit less engagement than you hope for, just because there's so much delay in getting to the actual singing part. So something to consider as you go forward is how much action is between, and how much is you telling and how much is them telling. I think there was a lot of good opportunities for us as the class to tell you what we knew. I think that is something that is way improved among most of my students, but definitely something that you did well at here. There were so many opportunities for us as the singers to tell you what we knew, or to demonstrate that we knew something, with clapping, with what's going on here, where do you where do you see or hear the differences between the parts. That was great. You let us be uncomfortable in silence and sit and waited for an answer without necessarily telling us. You only probed us when absolutely necessary. That was awesome. That takes a lot of control, and that's really, really hard for me personally to do. So I was really proud to watch you do that. So there's a lot of good stuff happening here. Just consider the pace of it and sometimes the sequencing of it. But you are well on your way to doing stuff, just great. I love it. All right. See you tomorrow.